Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
No, I help do this program. My name is Mike Piwowarski. I am your co-host from the East Coast, the coast with the most from the co-host with the most here on the Rundown. 2A Views, conservative news. Craig, how is your Thirsty Thursday going?
My Thirsty Thursday has been phenomenal. So every evening when I take off here, as soon as I'm done here with the program, I go off and I've been on a movie shoot all this week, and I'll be doing it all next week. It has been very tiring, but it has been a lot of fun, having a good time. And then I come back late in the evening. I grab some ice. I grab me a nice little sip of bourbon, and today I am particularly thirsty.
You should have some before you go to the set. Relax a little bit. I'm sure that'll be fun.
Well, I do play an alcoholic hitman, so I would be in character.
There you go. That'll work. Folks, it's recommended that you don't drink and go to work. I mean, unless your job's drinking, then
yes.
you can
No,
probably
bad. That is a very bad idea to drink and then go to work.
Yeah. I would never do that. Never.
No. We have tried. I remember at Shot. Remember Booze with DeLuz?
Craig, I do remember it.
Barely.
Yeah.
He had to be reminded of a couple of times. It was the funniest thing because so we at SHOT Show, we used to, one of the other programs I do is called Morning Coffee with Craig. And so with the Firearms Policy Coalition. And so at SHOT, when we do our big SHOT party, it would be an evening event, and it would be a big reception. And so we would do interviews, and Mike would always be there, and he'd co-host with me, and we would be Booze with DeLuz. And so in between interviews, people would just be bringing drinks, and you could see progressively as the quality of the interview declined as we consumed alcohol. By the way, with the exception of Mike, you would have had absolutely no idea that he had consumed any alcohol.
I remember these interviews because people showed them to me later.
That's what happened. He was completely 100% sober during the interview, or at least appeared to be. But yeah, he wasn't, and he didn't realize it till the next day.
Or days later.
Yeah.
And then being shown them and be like, well, I was fine. And then you and the other interviewee would literally be sloppy.
Yes.
just drooling on camera kind of stuff. And
not that bad, but obviously affected by the consumption of alcohol.
It's the reason they never made the air, because I was there in this manner and you two were over there doing the Mutual Admiration Drooling Society.
I love you, man.
You guys are the best, man. You guys are the best. Yeah. That actually led to two other projects that we have. Shots at Shot. That's another one. And the Blackout Chronicles.
Blackout Chronicles. Yeah, guys, watch for that on a streaming network near you. It's going to be incredibly funny. As I like to say, it's kind of like where the real crime ID shows meets Dude, Where's My Car? Or
exactly right. Yep.
Fun stuff. All right, but hey, for those of you who are listening to the program, wherever you get your podcast, you can listen to the program. Also, for those of you who want to watch the program or encourage your friends to watch the program, you can watch us on Spotify, which, by the way, has become the number one way in which people are consuming this program. Which, the great thing about Spotify is you can either watch it or you can listen to it. But you can find us on consuming. Yes, they are.
I guess
consuming,
so. Yeah.
Partaking of the program. Anyway,
we're on YouTube. Works. No, consuming works. Yeah.
Okay. But we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on OpsLens. However you want to watch us, listen, and encourage your friends to do the same. By the way, if you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook, make sure you hit that notification button. That way, you'll be notified as soon as the program comes on, and you can participate in the live chat as the program is taking place. Because we know those algorithms are trying to suppress our reach. So, do that.
I hate that guy. Al.
I hate that guy.
Algorithm.
Al.
Yeah.
That guy Al. He's a jerk.
Algorithm. Yep. Yep.
Algorithm. Al
Yep.
Gore.
Yep.
Ah, see, he did invent the
Al.
internet.
So that's algorithm. It's like the other guy that poisons food, Salmonella. That kind of guy.
Salmonella.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, well, hey, we've bantered enough. Let's move. Let's get into the program. So there's a new poll out, or at least in this new poll, what they've done is they wanted to get an idea of the impact that party affiliation is having on education. And in this article in U.S. News, they noted that in 62 congressional battleground districts. Now these are meaning these are competitive districts. That in those cases, Democrats have given up ground to Republicans as the party of education. Basically, meaning that voters are trusting, are not trusting Democrats when it comes to the issue of education. Now, Mike, I got to tell you, when you consider the fact that first of all, Democrats shut down our schools. And we now know that not only did it harm our kids, but it didn't do anything to protect anyone from COVID-19. When we look at the wokeness that they are putting in schools now, the critical race theory, the transgender theory, and social justice theory, we all know that is all bad. The reduction or the lowering of standards, all this stuff, and it seems like people, at least in places where they're thinking, are clearly starting to believe that Republicans are better on these issues than Democrats.
We see it, right? We saw it happen in North Carolina. We saw it happen in Virginia. It changed the course of elections when you come out and say things like, "We're the government. We'll take care of what's in the education. What's in the curriculum. You don't have to worry about that. We'll be teaching your children." We saw how that worked out. It's not going to work. I believe, like you just mentioned, Craig, that when they did the shutdown of the schools, that they completely intended to use that time to rewrite the curriculum. But they kind of got caught. Kind of got caught with their hands in the dirty little cookie jar there, trying to do this. And we've seen this. We've seen everything come around. We've seen Governor DeSantis, fight against this. We've seen, the opposite going on out there in California with the inclusion of it. So it is becoming a battle item, and it appears as though this battle is going to the GOP. They are taking control of it, and we're seeing that with polls and with the elections. We're seeing it, the results of being forcing the liberal mindset into education is taking away votes from the Democrat Party.
Well, and so I say that I agree with you. And I see it more as Democrats are handing it over as opposed to Republicans actually taking it. Because, I mean, like I said, I've been on a school board now for almost 18 years.
Yeah.
I've been saying forever that we need to be, as Republicans, more focused on education. Because to me, it's the civil rights of our generation. It is the one way in which we can, as a party, have an impact and bring people who wouldn't consider voting Republican into the Republican Party. Right. But the problem is that for the most part, when it comes to education, our only answer has always been vouchers, 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 and not really getting into a lot of the intricacies of education and education policy, how to actually reform public education. Because you got a lot of people saying, well, we need to just get out of public education. My problem is that even if you get your kids out, the overwhelming majority of kids are still in it. So you got to reform that system. Yeah. I get for you, maybe you got to get your kids out, but you still have to reform the overall educational system. I think that the problem is that Democrats have jumped the shark.
Yeah. I'm not talking about the reforming the whole system.
Right.
That may never occur. But what you do is you exploit your enemy's weaknesses, and right now they're weak on education. So the Republicans may not know what they want, but we know what we don't want, and that's where we're exploiting them right now.
Right, and we can focus on going in and getting rid of those things that we don't want. But at the same time, we better make sure that we're looking at and we're focusing on, okay, well, what are the positive changes that we want to be making in the educational system?
Right.
And I think that we need to be, and we have people who have we have experts who can look to that, who can point those things out, but we have to be willing to invest intellectually into understanding those solutions and looking at the solutions that actually fit with our values.
Yes, sir. Yeah, absolutely. Agreed.
Right. But the problem with most politicians, and this is right or left, they're more interested in slogans than they are in actual policy.
Oh, they're
And
more interested in their own pockets than they are at policies.
yeah. I mean, I once again, I think it. There are a lot of really well-meaning people who get into politics who, once again, they govern based on slogans, not on actual
Uh,
understanding of the policy. And we
there's
see that. Well,
very,
we see that
very,
all the
very,
time with guns.
yeah, very, very few out there. I'm sorry, but politicians are only concerned with remaining politicians.
Well, there you
That's
go. And I think
that's the
that
problem with the swamp. Yeah.
the one my attitude as a school board member, as a person who's run for office, has always been this: I am who I am. This is what I believe. My goal is not necessarily just to get elected, but what I'm going to do once I'm elected. And I'm going to be the person when I get elected. I'm going to be that person once I'm elected.
Right.
And if you don't like that person, don't vote for that person. Vote that person out.
Yeah, but I could guarantee that whenever you had to fill out a survey paperwork or anybody's ever asked you and you said extracurricular activities, you never wrote politician. You wrote school board member. You know, that's the difference between a politician and an office holder, right?
Well, yes, but if you're going to be an effective elected official or an effective office holder, you better understand how to be a politician.
Well, you can understand politics, but you shouldn't become a politician because politician, again, by our definition right here, means I want to remain a politician. That's my only concern is not
Mhm.
for the good of the people, but for the good of me, the individual.
Right. Well, I think that's the connotation that we have put on it. I don't necessarily
Yes.
believe I don't believe that's the definition. I believe that's the image that we have of politicians nowadays.
See, I would never if I were to run for office, right,
Mm-hmm.
and get elected at any state
Right.
or federal level, I would never refer to myself as politician.
Mm-hmm.
I would be the representative. You know,
Oh no, I,
that
I
that would
completely
be my
agree. It's
title.
not. But that, I guess my point is that doesn't mean that that's not what you are. It's just you would never refer to yourself as that because that would just that would draw negatives, because that's how we see it. It's not
Right.
necessarily what it is. It's just
It's
that's
true.
the perception that we have.
It's true. It's true. That's fine.
Right. All right. Moving right along. We hear about this massive wave of gun crime, right? And you hear it's funny. Now local PDs, and I'm sure you guys have seen this now on Facebook, where they report we found this person in possession of yada 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 and these weapons, and we're getting these guns off the street and yada yada yada. And you know what's really funny about that is that we're actually finding that overwhelmingly, and we're talking about we're looking at that as an increase in gun crime, right? But there's a new report out that's basically denoting that the overwhelming majority, or at least a huge percentage, of gun crimes that are out there that are now being reported are actually have nothing to do with violent crime and are largely, overwhelmingly, simply possession of firearms by those who are prohibited from owning or possessing those firearms. Sometimes it's being a felon and being a prohibited person. In some cases, at least at the state levels, it's being in possession of a firearm or a firearm accessory that you are not supposed to be in possession of, that has been deemed illegal. But it's not actually using the gun in the commission of a crime.
All right, can you bring that photo back up one more time? That page, the front page. Looks at that. What is that? That's Bretta 92 with the two tone. Bretta doesn't get the love it deserves. I'm sorry. Bretta deserves more love. It was a workhorse of our military for years and years. Hi, Bretta. How's it going? Good Italian. Petro created that there. Petro Bedietta. So I'm sorry. Yeah, Craig. You and I had a little discussion about this one right before we went on the air too. It's weird the numbers. You look at this, right? I think we looked at was it 89%, right? Was that it? 89% of all crimes involving firearms are basically possession of a firearm by a convicted felon.
Right.
So that's 11% out there where they're doing something violent, according to the federal government, state government, whatever, doing something violent with the firearm at the time of the arrest. So of the other half, it could be, or I'm sorry, and also in that other 11%, it could be items like altered serial number or something like that as
Right.
well, which are in there. But of those 89%, again, then they looked at about roughly half of those were people that had violent pasts or had been convicted of a violent felony. But then the remaining half of it was people that the only crime that they were committing was carrying a firearm by a
Right.
convicted felon, from
Right here.
nonviolent reasons, right?
This
So,
section right here. Yeah.
yeah, so a little tricky there, but so of the 89% arrested, half had violent felony past, and the other half had non-violent felony pasts. And those are the numbers we were looking at. You and I were looking at that. There's a large establishment of non-violence out there that are carrying them. Now we went off on the side on this, and I said, listen, you're a felon. You shouldn't be carrying a gun. I understand you want to carry a firearm. You want to protect yourself and your family. You need to get that fixed, or don't commit felonies in the first place. And I know there's a whole lot of nonviolent, white collar kind of felons. There's felons out there that our founding fathers never thought would ever be felons. But we've got to draw a line somewhere in order to attack the problem. I don't think we can just say, well, they're nonviolent, so let's do something. Well, let's establish what the problem is, define the problem, and then let's work towards it. And when you say felony, that puts the line down. Now, if you want to call it nonviolent felony, well, let's get on the campaign bus and start working on it. It's just it. But I think the real point we're pointing out here is, if you've got 89%, half of that which are violent people that are carrying guns, and the other half are nonviolent, even the nonviolent people are carrying firearms. Do you think all the other little tiny firearms restrictions make a damn bit of difference to them? Do you think that a magazine capacity or anything like that matters at all to these people? If they're willing to, you got half the people out there that know they're not supposed to carry, and they really should. They're probably good people because they just got some white collar crimes against them, right?
Right.
And do you think that they're worried about it? Do you think if it bothers the major felon, if it doesn't bother the minor felon, I guess is one way to look at it.
Well, Mike, the funny part is the article points out that basically only 4% in 4% of the cases where it's where a gun was actually fired or someone was killed, right?
Yes. Yeah.
4%. Now, consider the fact that that's 4%. Now, you're talking about things like, for example, an assault weapons ban. Do you realize that of that 4%, only 3% involve all rifles? I mean, the amount of actual crime involving firearms where a firearm is utilized in the commission of that crime is very, very small. But like I remember in California when they banned individual use or private ownership of 50 caliber rifles. I remember asking the committee chair, do you know how many crimes in the United States that did not involve possession of a firearm have involved a 50 caliber rifle? Yeah. And you and I already know the answer to that.
Yes.
Absolutely none. Zero. Big zero. But they don't care because it's the imagery. Right? The imagery of taking a gun from someone who's not supposed to have it. That's all the thing. And now, the other thing that this article points out is how these laws disproportionately affect, young people of color, the people that supposedly the anti-gunners say they're trying to protect. Because most of those crimes of possession, are not crimes that they're going out looking for. That's actually, it depends on if you have an interaction with law enforcement.
Right.
And you are in possession.
Yeah, I think it was actually, what was it? Was it the Bronx and Queens, or was it Bronx and the former Manhattan district attorney said that the crime of simply carrying a firearm without a license. Now, remember, that makes you a felon in New York. If you get caught carrying a firearm without a license, that's a felony charge, not a misdemeanor charge. So these people are becoming felons because the government has restricted their right to carry a firearm to protect themselves. So they've decided to carry a firearm to protect themselves and are getting caught and becoming felons.
Right.
And so at that point, Craig, now they're a felon that can't carry a firearm, but they were illegally carrying a firearm to protect themselves. Do you really think they're going to stop carrying firearms? When their sole purpose is, I want to protect myself. I'm not carrying a firearm to jack a convenience store. I'm wearing a firearm to protect myself.
As the old saying goes, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6.
which is a great example. But you and I both know somebody who almost was carried by 6 and decided to use a firearm and got judged by 12 instead. And
Yes.
his life will never ever be the same.
Right. No, you are 100% correct, and I'm so glad that he was properly judged. We'll put it that way.
He was properly judged, and I just want to bring that up just to
Yeah.
say that it's a great saying, and it's a slogan that I think you and I we abide by. But
Hmm.
there are consequences to it, life changing consequences to it.
Right. Well, and our government shouldn't put us in that situation. We ought to be able to legally be able to exercise our fundamental right to self defense.
Agreed. Agreed.
Right. All right, moving right along to our next topic. Okay, this was one that Mike and I had a very interesting conversation about in the lead up to the program. You know that in the city of San Francisco there was a special election or a recall election, and a number of the school board members there have been replaced. And so we already know that there's a whole bunch of controversy going on with the school board there in San Francisco. Well, one of the school board members, and I don't believe this was a new school board member. I believe this was an existing school board member.
Nope, it was a new one.
Oh, it was a new one.
She's
Made
one of the
the
appointees.
following
Yeah.
statement made a statement that has been deemed to be racist. And the statement was, and I will read the entire statement here for you. The statement has been deemed to be racist, and they're catching a lot of flack for this. And you guys tell me if you guys think this sounds racist. So here's a comment right here. It says, from my very limited exposure in the past 4 months to the challenges of educating marginalized students, especially in the black and brown community, I see one of the biggest challenges as being the lack of family support for those students, unstable family environments caused by housing and food insecurity, along with the lack of parental encouragement to focus on learning, cause children to not be able to focus on or value learning. That makes teachers work harder because they have to take care of emotional and behavioral issues of students before they can teach them. That is not fair to teachers. Now, Mike, now this person once again people are just coming down on this school board member. This is, I believe, an Asian school board member. Her name is Sue, or HSU is pronounced Sue. Anyway, it's kind of interesting, Mike, because I'm trying to figure out what exactly was racist in this particular comment.
Well, as you read through the statement, Craig, there is no racism in this comment whatsoever. She pointed out the facts that are known through the your state Department of Education, through the federal Department of Education, that are people that are families that have a harder time participating in school activities, participating in the child's education, and the statistics they don't lie. Those are black and brown families. In fact, if you go back to what is it, the second or third page there, there's another quote I want to pull off of there to read to the folks as well concerning what the outcry was, part of the statement and the outcry. And I'll just keep talking while Craig pulls that up there. So let's see what's going on here. I'm just there we go. No, come down a little more. Come down a little more. Come down a little more. No, all the way up here. I'm sorry, Craig. It's the top. It's like the second page. It's like the second page. San Francisco, a little bit more. A little bit more. There we go. That's not it. There we go. Right there. The backlash to the community was swift, with parents and community members saying her comments were harmful and racist and repeated false ideas that black and brown parents are not involved in their kids' educations as white and Asian families. Craig, I guess if you say it, then it must be true, right? Because I noticed that the Chronicle here did not go back and refute that that statement was incorrect. It is true when you look at the statistics that black and brown families take lesser part in their child's education. Craig, some of those families are broken. More of those families are broken statistically than white and Asian families. Maybe that's the reason, because you've got a parent out there working, and can't go to these extracurricular things. I don't know. I don't know the minutia of it, but I know that those facts as they stand are true. And so they're repeating false claims. It's almost as
Right.
if, Craig, how dare you call us out that we're not there? You
Well,
know?
you know what's funny is the Chronicle says this, it says the Chronicle editors determined that the comment met the publication's definition of racist because the remark employed stereotypes of racial or ethnic groups. Now, the point here is simply this. Okay, first of all, understand this. Stereotypes become stereotypes largely because they're rooted in some sort of truth, right? Or at
Yes.
least believed or perceived truth.
Yeah.
My point here is this, is that the data shows that black, in particular black children, are more likely to grow up in a single parent household. Now, I don't care if you are a single parent, simply by the factor of the fact that there's one person instead of two. It's harder to be as involved in your children's education because you got all the responsibilities of work and raising and taking care
Right.
of a home and training the children. I mean, it's harder. It doesn't mean that you are less than, it just means that it's harder when there's one parent instead of two parents. But we already know that lack of parental, that growing up in a single parent household across the board, socioeconomically, whether it's graduation rates, whether it's drug addiction, whether you wind up in prison, there's tons of data out there that shows you are more likely to wind up on the wrong side of a bunch of those statistics, right? We know this
Right.
already. We know that to be a fact. And we know that disproportionately, in particular, black kids with black and brown kids are more likely to grow up in a single parent household. Nothing she said is wrong. Absolutely, positively nothing. Now, the people who are upset are the black and brown people who, by the way, are, well, first of all, they're either liberal white people or they're black and brown people who don't fit that stereotype, who are active, who are engaged. But the thing about a stereotype or a generalization is that generalization doesn't apply to everybody that's in that group. So simply because you say it as a generalization, but we know statistically, yeah, it's an issue. We know this.
Yep.
Why does it make it racist for her to say it? And why does she have to apologize for pointing out something that is actually a root cause?
Because look at the politics of San Francisco. Mayor
Right.
London Breed there. She appointed this person. She's being criticized now for not having vetted her properly when she probably did. You've got this woman who is replacing somebody that was recalled a few months ago, so she's afraid of her job. So everybody's running for fear and dropping apologies and retractions, and it's just the nature of California politics, Craig. That's how it works. I do want to give I want to say a racist statement according to the San Francisco Chronicle there. Craig, give me that definition again. What they define racism as?
Oh, because the remark employed stereotypes of racial or ethnic groups.
Okay. All right, here we go. I'm going to say one. Now, Golden State Warriors, or they play right there in San Francisco, right?
Yes.
Okay. There are more black men in the NBA than there are white men. There I am.
Racist. You are racist.
Racist.
That is a racist comment.
A racist comment.
Because you're saying, oh, so what you're saying is black people play basketball, right? You trying to say all black people can play basketball? Is that what you're trying to say?
Nope, I did not. It's not what I said.
That's exactly what you said. That's what I heard.
That's
racist.
I said all white men can't jump. Can't you hear me? I said white men can't jump.
That doesn't mean they can't play basketball.
I know. Right, look at Woody. Yeah, look at Woody.
Larry Bird. Come on, man.
Oh, Larry used to jump. It was about an inch or two. He would have that little free throw thing he did.
I still remember the fish that saved Philadelphia. Remember that guy's set shot?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we're dating ourselves.
Basketball Jones. Sorry.
All right. So the other day, yesterday, there was a big protest outside the Supreme Court dealing with, the overturning of Roe versus Wade. And our good friend, AOC, Alex the bartender, she was one of the elected officials, one of the Democrats who was arrested as a result of being out there protesting. And Mike, the funny part about it was that she did this. I'm trying to pull up the video so that we can see her. So in the video, what she oh there it is. Okay. So watch this and you can see it right here. You can see there she is being arrested with her hands behind her back. But you know what's funny is she's got her hands behind her back. Oh, let me see if I can rewind that real quick. You notice there's no look, watch this. There's no actual handcuffs. So she's got her hands behind her back, making it look like she's handcuffed. Right? Look, you know, there's a woman next to her, no handcuffs. So they're taking her in and they're arresting her. And so now you've got AOC, or Alex the bartender, is out now defending, saying, I wasn't trying to pretend, I wasn't trying to mock like I was handcuffed. But that does that or does that not just speak to the hypocrisy and the fakeness of the left?
Oh, she's a piece of work, piece of garbage. We know that she's a liar. By the way, when most people walk with their hands behind their back, Craig, like their hands are like this, right? Not like this.
Right.
not the police style. That's the way you get handcuffed, by the way, if you don't notice it, because you have the least amount of control of your arms. They handcuff you back your hand to back your hand. And that's how she was walking. She wasn't walking with her hands clasped or her hands held. She was doing the and I just happened to be wearing a long jacket so you can't see my wrists. She's a lying little
Yes.
I almost gave some San Francisco Chronicle words there, Craig. I'm gonna watch my tongue.
Yes, please watch your tongue. Please watch your tongue. But yeah, but once again, trying to make it look like the police overreacted, trying to make the police look bad, and trying to make herself look like she's a fighter for injustice. It is anyway. It's just funny because now she's being called on it. It's like, do you people not realize that this stuff is eventually going to get exposed?
Um, I'm trying to find it here. I know I saw it earlier today. If you go to, it's a couple of the online services. I'm looking for it right now. I don't see it. I apologize. But you could buy some AOC handcuffs, and it had a great description of them, but all the pictures were blank. There was just nothing. There was nothing there. So you can see AOC handcuffs, or invisible handcuffs, and that's what she had going on there.
Hilarious. That is hilarious. That is hilarious. All right, let's move on to our parting shots. This first one, and once again, I am not a big fan of most of Bill Maher's politics, but at least I will say that there are a number of cultural items and areas where I think we are in agreement. I think Bill Maher is a complete and utter. He is more an anti-Republican than he is. I think he agrees with us on a number of issues, but he just doesn't like Republicans. It's an emotional hate he has for Republicans. But anyway, we all know that right now you have this big push to allow children, we're talking minors, to allow children to change their gender. There's a big push by people who are advocating, people being able, or children being able to, whether it's through medication or through surgery, change their gender at an early age. This is, whether it's male to female or female to male, but basically making life-altering or body-altering decisions before their brains are even fully formed. This quote I thought was very apropos. It's Bill Maher. It says, if kids knew what they wanted to be at age 8, the world would be filled with cowboys and princesses. I wanted to be a pirate. Thank God nobody took me seriously and scheduled me for eye removal and peg leg surgery. But that's what they
they can actually do those surgeries at the same time too. You don't have to come back twice for that.
You don't have to come back twice for that. There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
The next two have to do with, are more in line with, if you've been following everything that went on with the incident that took place in Indiana, where a Good Samaritan concealed carry holder actually wound up taking out a potential mass shooter. This was a comparison of that and, the incident that took place in Uvalde, Texas. You want to make these comparisons, Mike? Can you read that text, or is it a little low for you?
Yeah. We got the hero shooter on the left, and then on the right we have 200 local, state, and federal cops. Hero shooter, 15-second response time. The Uvalde police response, 1 hour and 15 minutes. Hero shooter, no concealed carry permit. Uvalde cops, millions of taxpayer dollars in training. Hero shooter, a Glock that he knew how to use. Uh, the Uvalde police response, AR-15s, shields, body armor. Hero response was Washington, or excuse me, wasn't supposed to have a gun in there, but he did. He wasn't supposed to have a gun in there. The police response at Uvalde, only ones who were supposed to have guns in sensitive places. Those are the police. Then finally, for our hero shooter, had the will to act, confronted a threat who had him outgunned. The Uvalde police response was stood around getting hand sanitizer while kids died.
Yeah, I think that is a pretty apt comparison.
Yes, yes. In fact, pull that back up for 1 second there, Craig. Let me take a look at that. The hero's first name. I want to make sure everybody knows to see the hero's first name here. The first name is Elisjsha. If I had to pronounce that, I'd call it Elisha.
I think it's Elijah.
This is the prime example, folks, of when you meet people in your life and they have their first name as an initial and then they use their middle name. That's this guy right here. I guarantee you this guy's never gone by Elishka in his life. He's probably like Billy Dickens.
I'm telling you, he probably pronounced it Elijah.
Yeah, sure. But look how it's spelled. I still wouldn't use it. I'm going with the middle name.
It's still bad.
This guy is
his parents were both dyslexic.
I guarantee you he's E. William Dickens. If everybody, if they knew who he really was, no way he uses that first name. No way.
Right. Okay, and then, by the way, that takes us to our last one. This one is actually a little bit simpler. It's about deterring mass shooters. In the top image, you have a masked mass shooter going into a gun-free zone, a mall that is a gun-free zone, and people are running, and he's just basically shooting at the mall. And then in the bottom one, you have him running away because it says actually a concealed carry zone, and you have 3 different mall patrons pointing a gun at him. Although they probably should be shooting him, but well, I guess he's running away.
My favorite one, though, I don't know if you could zoom in on that, but you can see it pretty well. There's the woman who has she's one-handed shooting because she's got her purse. Good for her. She's got good firearm control, single hand grip there. You got the other guy in the back who's brought the firearm up to his eyesight, because you never bring your eyes down to your gun. Bring your gun up to your eyes. That way you don't lose visibility. And you got the guy right in the middle who's got his tongue sticking out there. He's like, yeah, give me some. Get some. He's like MJ coming in for a layup. Give me some.
Oh, fun stuff. All right, Mike, it's about that time for a shout out to our sponsors.
Let's say hey to our good friends over at uscombatgear.com, the California Republic Assembly, Grid Defense, and I did have lunch today with our good friends over at Gorilla Machining, and they say hi to everybody out there.
Phenomenal stuff. Good stuff. Like I said, their links to their websites are in the description of this video. Please make sure, go visit them. If you like what you see, kick them down a little cash, and make sure you tell them the guys over at The Rundown sent you. With that, this episode is going to be a wrap. We very much appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will see you tomorrow on Freed Back Friday. So join in the conversation, folks. We're going to be talking, and we're talking to you.